Good evening, everybody. This is Mark Cipollone with AutoRacing1.com. I'm here this evening with Brian Caroscio. Talk about news, hot news, and rumors for the week of June 4th. So, Brian, we had a couple races this weekend. One was IndyCar. Actually, IndyCar had two races. Um, what was your opinion of what transpired this weekend in IndyCar?
Holy Graham Rahal was my opinion. We talked last week who do we think was going to win. The name Graham Rahal did not come up. He put the car on pole for Saturday and basically checked out on everyone. Qualified, I want to say, he qualified third for the race Sunday, and at some point in time early on got the lead and pretty much pulled away from everyone. And I don't know, led 75-80% of the entire laps for the weekend. We've never seen anything like that from him. We've seen him win. We saw him win at Fontana a few years ago and kind of that crazy race. We saw him win the rain-shortened race in St. Pete. Texas last year was kind of a crazy race. But we've never seen him just dominate as he did. It was very, very impressive stuff. So, he made the weekend kind of dull in a strange sort of way by dominating like he did.
Yeah, I agree with you. He did a really good job. The team did a really good job. They were hooked up, and I don't think anybody was going to touch him. On the long runs, he was strong. On the short runs, he was strong. So my hats off to him. And of course, Honda again was strong. And so hats off to them. They're still losing an engine here and there, but they have so many strong cars that they're dominating IndyCar right now, which is not unlike what Chevy was doing for a number of years. So the tides have turned.
Yeah, clearly.
They threw a red flag at the into that race, in the second race on Sunday. Do you think that was the right thing to do?
Absolutely, 100% the right thing to do. I think that in instances where you can get a green flag finish, you have paying customers, you have TV viewers. You're always negotiating the delicate balance between sport and entertainment, and sometimes the two are in conflict. But I think that if you can get it finished under the green without sort of adding laps and overtime and the overtime line, and I guess we'll talk about that a little later, and all that. Yes, 100% the right call. I remember this came up with the 2014 Indy 500. The 100 Ray one. It was the right call then. I thought it was the right call Sunday.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree. So, fans want to see, a race, a green flag finish if possible. I think the A series should always, try to do that.
Right.
When it's reasonable. When it's reasonable.
If I was Graham Rahal, I might have a different answer, but
right.
Yeah, right call. The right call.
TV ratings. IndyCar TV ratings for Detroit were not good, down 30 to 40% from the year before. Any ideas why?
We were talking, right before I guess we went on air here. There's the short-term problem and there's kind of the long-term. There's the big picture problem. The short-term issue is kind of how do you get more people to watch the races. The long-term issue, I think, is why aren't more people watching the races? And we've talked about this, and I don't know if you could think of a neighbor or somebody that you know who isn't necessarily into racing, but likes sports and likes kind of sports entertainment, what would you say to them to get them to watch an IndyCar race? And I don't really know the answer to that. In other words, I can say the racing's really close, and 15 people can win on any given race, and it's much better racing than NASCAR, and it's very fast, this, that, and the other, but that really doesn't engage people. And is it that there isn't really a hero in sort of the true sense of the word? That's potentially it. Is it the other issues that are facing motorsports, the decline of the automobile? Young people these days aren't as interested in cars as they used to be. that have something to do with it? I don't really know the answer. There's no easy fix. There's no sort of magic bullet. But I think the main thing and the biggest thing that's facing IndyCar is you have to give people a compelling reason to watch. And close racing and parity are not compelling reasons to watch. Like, there's a lot of parity in golf right now. You know what there's not in golf? There's not a Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is on the sideline with his back broken and surgeries and so on and so forth. And, back in the Tour de France days, when Lance Armstrong was winning and winning and winning, we found out later he was juicing and such. But he's won the Tour de France the last few years. You don't know. I think it's the same thing. There isn't that kind of compelling figure that draws people in. And I think that if I had to say that there's one thing, I would say that is ultimately it. There's not that compelling figure that really captures the imagination of the public. And until that changes, I don't really see the television, the metrics that are oh so important changing.
Absolutely. I mean, we've written many times about heroes make a sport. The sport is about the people, right? It's about the athletes. And,
right.
All the sports that have been popular over time always had heroes, whether it was a Michael Jordan in basketball, whether it was a Babe Ruth or Mickey Mantle or Joe DiMaggio in baseball, right? Or in racing, whether it was A.J. Foyt, Mario Andretti, Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna, they all dominated their era. They dominated the sport, and it drew people in. Look at Dale Earnhardt. When Dale Earnhardt died, and NASCAR took a hit. When Dale Earnhardt Jr. retires, although he's not really a superstar in terms of wins, he's riding on his father's coattails. But all his father's fans kind of stuck with him, and when he goes, so goes NASCAR. It's going to really take a big hit. So, no question. Unfortunately, IndyCar drivers are good drivers. They're nice people, and very professional. I mean, they're great guys, and I rank their skill level very high. However, I can't say right now today that any of them are a hero because they're not dominating their sport. Right? They're not dominating the era. This era right now, there's no one dominating. Anybody can win on any weekend, and so it's just blasé. And so that's part of the problem. It's part of the problem.
Yeah.
It's not all of it. It's not all of it.
I mean, I hate that it makes me, I feel sort of shallow in a sense speaking like this because you bring it up and, I think Scott Dixon's amazing. I think Ryan Hunter-Reay's amazing. And Will Power, the list goes on and on. But, and you're right, they're all professional. They're all good guys. None of them, get involved in, they're not getting into trouble like football players and such, and they're good family people and all that. But again, there is something about it that isn't capturing the imagination of the public, and I don't know what that is. And the whole notion of a sort of the winning kind of badass hero type thing, I think is definitely part of it. But there still is something that's missing, and I don't see the metrics significantly changing until that changes.
No, unfortunately not. And so TV ratings are down, and TV ratings are down at the worst time possible for IndyCar. Almost all the races have been down this year, and they're in the process of starting negotiations for a new TV contract, and so that's really going to impact the amount of money that they may be able to get for a TV deal, which, ABC looks like, there's all the talk of them going away and getting out of motorsports altogether. Yeah. It was their last broadcast this past weekend for IndyCar, and 2 or 3 of those people in that booth were laid off. That was announced earlier, so they're gone. And now, whether or not they're going to bring in new blood, or whether or not they're just going to get out of motorsports altogether, I don't know. But the TV ratings aren't stellar, and so are they? Could they make money? Questionable. So IndyCar has they're in a predicament right now. TV ratings are dropping, and they're in the process of negotiating a new deal. So what do you do? And I've talked about they should be blacking out the races in the local market every race. That's the only way you're going to get the attendance up. And I've talked about, we talked about the heroes, and that's going to draw people to the TV broadcasts. But I've also talked about social media killing sports. Social media is killing all sports. Between Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, people can get videos and updates on the sporting events. So why bother tuning in for 2 hours, or in NASCAR case, 4 hours, when I could just get the updates and then last 15 minutes I could tune in and see who wins, right? That kills the TV ratings. So, you're cutting off the lifeblood that the sport needs to survive, and that's the TV ratings, which bring sponsor dollars, which pay for all the expensive equipment, right? And so, the sports, all sports, not only but IndyCar especially, needs to get on top of this. Whether they sit down with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and say, can we somehow black out, everything related to IndyCar during the broadcast? Can we do that? And, you could tweet and Facebook all week long, but during the broadcast, can we black it out so people have to watch the TV in order to follow the race and see what's going on? Because you get rid of you cut off your blood supply, i.e., the money supply, which comes from the TV ratings, and you don't have a sport very long. You're done. So that's just my rant for the week.
No, you bring up a good point. It's the consistent kind of content becoming free, and
Yep.
and sports have always had this problem in that, for example, IndyCar right now cannot basically monetize the fact that we are talking about it, right? IndyCar doesn't make a dime. Now, theoretically, this raises interest in IndyCar, so on and so forth, but that's a problem that sports has always had, is that they don't have a ton of sources of revenue. But this is just, again, this is cutting off. I mean, it's like you're slowly kind of squeezing the oxygen supply. And yeah, I don't know what the answer is. You can't put Twitter and Facebook back in the, you can't go back to 2005 or whatever. But yeah, it is hurting. It's hurting not just racing, but all sports and a lot of forms of media.
Yeah. Moving on, sticking with IndyCar, IndyCar announced that Delara had the contract today for the new body kits. Any opinion of that?
Whoa. I can't believe that. Wow. Okay. I mean, I was just wondering, and I couldn't. Anyway. Okay. Shocking news, yes. Yeah, no surprise there. So I'm interested to see the car get on track and see how it goes. But yeah, no surprise about Delara.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like they sole sourced it to Delara. We didn't hear anything about who was bidding on it. There were no RFPs put out, no bids, and they just sole sourced it to Delara. It's like,
yeah.
We know Brian Bornhart. Delara has been Brian Bornhart's pet for years.
Here, all kidding aside, and I'm actually not joking now, but I found the news out on Twitter, of all things, and I thought, I said to myself, I was like, I thought Delara already had it. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, I thought that it was already decided that it was Delara, and then no, it was news. But it goes to show you what I know. But I was like, this is actually news, but I guess it was.
Yeah, no, because we all thought they were going to put it out to bid, and then all of a sudden they sole sourced it. So I guess they could. They're not a public company; they can do whatever they want.
Yes.
Changing over to NASCAR.
Yes.
Jimmy Johnson gets win number 83 at Dover this weekend. Ties Kill Yarborough with for I guess fifth or sixth on the list, all-time NASCAR list. What do you think about that?
I think Johnson's the best stock car driver I've ever seen. I know that if you said that in certain areas or segments, it would not go over well. But I'm 41 years old, so I saw Dale Earnhardt, and I saw I saw the end of Richard Petty, but I wouldn't say that I saw Petty at his best. and I saw Jeff Gordon as well. And Johnson just wins with a clinical precision that I don't. He makes it look easy, and that's what he did Sunday. He started 40th. By about lap 10, he was 20th. And, kind of worked his way up, and other guys made mistakes. And, Kyle Busch's crew made a mistake. And he's in second place with a few laps to go, and Kyle Larson doesn't get a great restart. And it's like, 83 wins, 6th all time. And I guess he's got Darrell Waltrip and was it Bobby Allison?
Yep.
Are next on the list. And, I mean, he has...
By the way, so one more win and he ties them. Yeah,
and he's the best I've ever seen. And, the other thing, too, is that how he and Knaus have sort of, every year they kind of engineer their year as kind of the build-up to the chase. And then they peak right at that perfect time every year. It's really amazing. He's the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, they work well together. He's got teammates. He beats them all. He's had good teammates, and they can't touch his record and his winnings. So it's definitely they all have the same equipment.
Yeah, he demoralizes them. I mean, poor Casey Kane hasn't been the same since he showed up at Hendrick.
Yeah.
Jeff Gordon, once Johnson got there, kind of began to decline a little bit. He's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, he's a great stock car driver. I think he's going to pass. He'll be in 4th this year probably. With one more win, he'll tie for 4th. And then he's got Jeff Gordon, his former teammate, at 93 wins, which is 10 more than what he has now. I see him beating that. Because Jimmy Johnson isn't that old. And then that puts him in 3rd. And then the next person is David Pearson at 105. So I think it's very conceivable that he'll make it to 2nd place. Of course, he'll never reach Richard Petty at 200 wins.
He's 41.
For NASCAR, that's not that old. He's getting up there in age, though. Yes.
Another thing that's interesting about Johnson is he broke into NASCAR relatively late. He broke in around 26 or so, which is relatively. You see the guys like Logano, broke in at 18, 19. Some of these other guys break in real young. He actually broke into NASCAR relatively late.
Yep.
And is still, but yeah, he makes it look so easy. And then he gets out of the car and is like, oh, yep, the low Chevrolet was good, and we won again. Okay. Just everything about it is just so, there's just such an ease to it. Really amazing.
Yeah. Big wreck at the end of that race. Johnson made it back to the line, so the race ended up in yellow, which is rare for NASCAR. But he had passed, what's it called? The overtime line. He had passed that when the big wreck happened. So,
yeah.
It finished on the. Some people were complaining about that. Oh, they should have, red flagged it and all that. But the rules are the rules. The rules are the rules.
No, I agree. The rules are the rules. But why did they ever go away from the green-white checker format, which was when you got back to the line, and if you took the white flag, then the race was over if there was an accident. Why did they bring in the overtime line? I don't.
Well, they still have green-white checker, but it has to do with that line rather than racing back all the way to the finish line. I think it was because there was becoming too many wrecks. To make the full lap and come all the way back, there was too much chance for a wreck, so they were having 3, sometimes 4 restarts, 3 or 4, green-white checkers because they kept on wrecking. So I think they changed it to make it so that it was like a half a lap. It was a half a lap, so they might actually finish the race at some point.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this weekend we've got IndyCar at Texas. Any favorites for that one?
Texas. Scott Dixon. How about? He's due for a win. Honda's on, in top form. They're going to be running the Speedway kits, and he was obviously really good at the Speedway before he ran over Jay Howard and went flying through the air. So Scott Dixon would be my pick. Here's a question for you: Is the track surface change in Texas, the resurfacing, is that going to change things at all in terms of the speeds?
Well, they lowered the banking in turns 1 and 2, right? So it'll probably lower the speeds a little bit. It may lower the speeds a little bit, but then again, IndyCar, has a lot of downforce, and if the surface is grippier, it might not affect the overall speeds too much. But I don't expect to see any track records this weekend.
Well, I'm just concerned about what I'm concerned about is just them being even more packed together than before with the grippier surface.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
No idea. They did test there, so they
Yeah.
they picked the tire that they wanted to run there. So we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. My pick is either Ray Hall or Hunter Ray, and I think Ray Hall's on a roll. He won last year, and he's on a roll right now. His confidence is high.
Yeah.
And again, he has a Honda, and so I'm going to pick Ray Hall to win again. But Hunter Ray's run good there too, and he's due. He's due, in my opinion. He's due. So we'll see. Canadian Grand Prix this weekend for Formula One. They're in Montreal. Who are you picking for that one?
With the long straightaway coming down, I think it's got to be a Mercedes track. Hamilton is great. He's great in Montreal. I would go with Hamilton in Montreal.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, but Ferrari's been strong this year. I gotta say, and they seem to be matching Mercedes when it comes to straight line speed, except in qualifying. Seems like Mercedes got a little when they turn the engine up, they got a little bit more horsepower. So if I had to predict, I would say it'll be Hamilton on the pole. But in the race, Vettel and that Ferrari are strong, and so I think Vettel's going to break Hamilton's stranglehold on Montreal this weekend. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
should be interesting.
One of the better tracks I think on the F1 calendar is I think that's a great track. It's a great spot. Have you ever been up there?
Yes, many times. Great
Okay.
Track. Yeah, it's fun. Indy racer run there. I've been to F1 races there. They're nice track, really nice.
Okay.
You can't park on the island. You have to take mass transit over. There's no parking except for the teams. But yeah, it's great. Mass transit is good. The subway system runs right into the island, so it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Staying on F1 and to wrap up here, rumor has it that Renault is not real happy with one of its drivers, Jolyon Palmer, who hasn't really been performing very well.
No, he hasn't.
We hear a rumor that Robert Kubica just tested today at 2012 Renault, and he set some pretty fast times for what the reports came out. He tested with Sergio Sorokin, which is the reserve driver for Renault, and they whooped him, so to speak. So it looks like maybe he hasn't lost too much skill there. Do you think we can see Kubica back in the Renault next year, replacing Palmer?
I think it would be a nice story, even if he just came back for a couple Grand Prix or something. He's not going to be much of a downgrade from Jolyon Palmer. He obviously had a very promising career in the making before he sort of got this sort of silly rallying fix. And he's only 32 years old. We looked that up before the show. I couldn't believe he was only 32. So, yeah, I think that it would. I don't think that this is going to be sort of anything where, if he comes back with Renault, I don't think it's going to be like he's winning Grand Prix or anything. But I think it would be a nice story. It would be nice for him to kind of just get back in the car, run a few Grand Prix, and I think it would be good for Renault. It would be good for Robert Kubica. It would be a good thing. So I would like to see it happen. And again, if it's over Jolyon Palmer, it's not going to be a big downgrade in performance. That's for sure.
Speaking of replacing drivers, what do you think about Dale Coyne's choice for this weekend, replacing Sebastian Bourdais?
With Tristan Vautier, again, Dale is always going to surprise you. I was sure that if Gutierrez wasn't going to drive, that it would be Oriol Servia. But I'll tell you this. I I visited the team shop. I guess it was 2 summers ago when Bodier was driving for them, and I spent some time talking to Michael Cannon. He has very high regard for Tristan Bodier, and that team has very, very high regard for Tristan Bodier. Bodier won himself over some supporters when I guess he ended up filling in for Huertas a couple of years ago, and he gelled with that group. So I guess, no, it doesn't surprise me very much just going back and knowing that team has some very, very high regard. And I think that one of the things, Bodier does not bring money like a lot of, as a lot of other drivers. And, I think that if, all things were equal, that is something who that team would have had before this. Money were not an issue.
Going back to the body kits real quick. Next
Yeah.
year, Honda won't be, all the cars won't have the bumpers on the back. They're going to be gone. And we know that that's like a parachute for the Honda cars. So, up until now, when Honda has so much more horsepower than Chevy, they had to drag that parachute around, and Chevy would always beat them. But now that Honda has bumped up their horsepower, they're able to compete with the Chevys on the street and road courses and the short ovals. But next year, when those bumpers are gone, everybody's going to be in the same boat. If Chevy doesn't step up their game in the horsepower area next year, Honda's going to really dominate them. So they've got their work cut out for them this winter, that's for sure.
Yeah, I find that this Honda Chevy era has been, no one has really ever gotten too far ahead. I guess the last 2 years Chevy had an advantage, but no one's ever just sort of totally run away and hit it, for more than a couple of races. So my feeling is that with Roger Penske in the stable, Chevy will have a response to the new package, and Honda will have their work cut out for them to keep the advantage they currently have.
Let's hope so. And I would like to see another engine manufacturer come in. Geely is rumored, the Chinese company, but I don't. It would be great if they were coming in next year with the new body kits, because they're coming in with with a big change for everybody. It would be a good time to start, but there's no way, and it still hasn't been announced, and we don't know if it's going to be announced. But IndyCar really needs a their manufacturer.
Yeah, it is. That's a tough one. I mean, it is a giant investment for these manufacturers, and particularly when you're starting from scratch, it's a giant investment, and I don't know if the metrics that we talk about just justify it at this point.
Yeah. Okay, well, for Mark Cipollone and Brian Caroscio, that's all for the week of June 4th. Stay tuned for another next show next week, a week from today. That's all for this week, and everybody have a great evening.